Chair, you have a quorum.
We do. Sandeep has just arrived. So who, we've got Badisha and Brahim.
So Commissioner Badesha, I know, is not going to be joining us. He's actually got some exciting news, but sad for us, he's been accepted into med school in another state. So he'll be temporarily leaving Milpitas, and Mayor, you should be receiving a letter from him shortly letting you know that he's going to need to resign while he doesn't live here.
Okay.
Thank you very much for the update. We wish him all the best.
Mm-hmm.
And he mentioned that that was one of his hopes anyways.
Mm-hmm. I know he had been applying, so exciting for him that he got into the school that he wanted.
So
Just FYI, this is Sandeep. I'm just walking back home, and I'll be unmuting myself in 5 minutes.
Okay.
Thanks.
walk fast, Sandeep.
So it's after 7. So if you'd like to call the meeting to order, we can start.
Okay, we will call the meeting to order. Good evening, everybody. Juliana, how about giving us the pledge? Everybody join Juliana. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Juliana. Tegan, do you want to do the roll call?
I do. Hang on just a moment. Let's see, Chair Ag.
Present.
And Vice Chair Ghosh. Don't see her yet.
No.
Commissioner Badesha. Absent. Commissioner Brahim.
Present.
Commissioner Hayes.
Present.
Commissioner Umarani.
Present.
And our new commissioner, Commissioner Hutnick.
Present.
And for those who may not know, our student commissioner, Commissioner Tan, has also gone away to college. So she is no longer with us as well.
Yeah. And maybe at the end, if we have a minute or so at the end, I'd like to talk about that if the mayor's still with us. Okay. We don't need any alternates. We've got a quorum.
We don't, but Chair, I thought that we might invite Commissioner Hutnick to introduce herself since none of us have met her in person yet.
Terrific. Please, Cecilia. You have to unmute yourself.
Hello, my name is Cecilia Hutnick. I am a photographer, resident in Milpitas. I have a bachelor's in film production from San Francisco State. And I'm very excited to be serving on the Arts Commission.
Terrific. That's wonderful, Cecilia, and welcome. You've actually joined the most exciting commission, and I say that very carefully because obviously the mayor's listening and he will say that's not true. There are other commissions too, but we actually at this particular point in time have a very interesting role to play, I think, in how the city develops and evolves. And I noticed that Commissioner Ghosh is here, so we can add her to the roll call. Okay. So I need an approval of the agenda. And no, that's fine. I need an approval for the agenda. Has everybody had an opportunity to review it? Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
I make a motion to approve the agenda for 10/11.
I second.
Okay, I'm sorry. Who was the second?
Robin Hayes.
Thank you, Robin. Very good. I now need a, well, I guess we should have a roll call, right? All right. Commissioner Hutnick? Are you going to have to say, you have to unmute, Cecilia?
Yeah, present.
No.
Yes or no?
Yay or nay?
Oh, yay.
Okay. Commissioner Juliana?
Yay.
Commissioner Sandeep Umarani?
Yay.
Commissioner Ghosh? Shoaita, you unmute.
Yay.
Commissioner Hayes?
Yay.
Thank you. And I yay. Okay, approval of the meeting minutes. I'd like a motion. Do I have a motion? Robin, you're going to have to unmute.
Oh, I'm sorry, I thought I did. I move to approve.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
I second Joita Ghosh.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any nays?
Aye.
Thank you.
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. All
I
right, we have a roll call. Commissioner Bryan?
Chair, would you like me to do the roll call votes? Would that help?
I think that would work.
Okay, great.
Very efficient.
Chair Ag. We're
Aye.
voting to approve minutes, okay. Vice Chair Ghosh.
present.
Aye or no for minutes?
Sorry. Okay.
Aye or no for the minutes?
Aye.
Okay. Commissioner Brahim,
Aye.
Commissioner Umarani,
Aye.
and Commissioner Hayes.
Aye.
And I'm afraid, Commissioner Hutnick, since you weren't there, you can't vote on the minutes for that particular meeting.
Okay. Okay. So I'll now read the public forum. I don't know whether we have anybody that's actually streaming or online.
I do not see anybody right now.
Okay. I still think you should go ahead and do it.
Yes.
Those interested are invited to address the commission on any subject not on the agenda orally via Zoom webinar, as the instructions show on the city website. Speakers may provide their name and city of residence for the record, and comments may be limited to 3 minutes or less. In this particular case, if there's anybody here, it will be 3 minutes. As an item not listed on the agenda, no response is required of the commission or staff. However, commission members may request staff to add the item for a future meeting agenda. This public meeting will be led with professionalism, respect, and civility. So profanity and/or vulgar language will not be allowed. Okay. Deegan, do you have any announcements?
I think I already made my announcements regarding commissioners coming and going, so thank you.
Okay. So then we get right to business items. And I've already, Deegan has already warned me by email prior to the meeting that there is a lot to get through and a lot to discuss. So, and we have a good group of people here to dialogue this. So you want to start with the mural program?
Sure. I wanted to let you know that City Council on the 5th of October approved the mural program. You all have seen that before, with the exception of Commissioner Hutnick. And under this program, we're going to produce 4 murals a year. And City Council has given us a head start by directing that we work on 2 this fall. They're very excited to have this get going. And we'll be doing 1 for Holiday Magic on Main Street, which I'll talk about in a little bit. And we'll also be doing a historical mural that will be of a portable nature, and we can move it around on Main Street to different spots. So we'll talk about both those things later. The one change that City Council made to what you had presented to them, they did ask that we have one of our 4 murals per year with a Milpitas artist. We had just said local, but we hadn't specified Milpitas. So they do want us to have at least one that has a Milpitas artist, which we will also talk about in a little bit. The artists will be paid a stipend if they are chosen by a selection committee to create a design. And then from there, the selection committee will let the Arts Commission know which design they have selected. On each selection committee, we will have one arts commissioner sitting on the committee. We will also have stakeholders, which might be business owners or people who use the area that's being proposed as a mural. And then, of course, residents will fill out that selection committee. So I shouldn't call them committees, I should call them panels, which is really what they are. So the selection panels will be the ones that go through the pre-qualified artists list that we're going to work on tonight, and they will select a small number of people that they will invite to create designs for a particular project. And that process of pre-qualifying the artist is what we really need to focus on today. I don't think there's anything else that's different from what you previously had proposed to City Council. I did include a copy of the official policy in your packet, so you can reference that. But that's all I have on the mural program itself right now.
Okay, thank you, Tegan. Do we have any questions? I'm assuming then, because there's complete silence, that there are no questions. All right, let's move on then, Tegan. 9B.
Sure. 9B is the temporary Main Street Industry Mural Project, and that's the one that I mentioned City Council has requested we fast track. We are trying to get this project finished for Holiday Magic on Main Street so that we can unveil it at that event. And then after that, as I said, it's portable, so we can move it around on Milpitas, on Main Street, or actually anywhere in Milpitas, according to our needs. And we are envisioning that mural as something that celebrates the industry and businesses on Main Street. And in conversation with the Historical Society, we've identified some types of businesses that we might want to have involved or represented on the mural. Things that the Historical Society felt were very significant would be Bank of Milpitas, the Pashodi General Store, Windsor Blacksmith Shop, California Fruit Cannery, the Ford plant, of course, Smith Corners, Milpitas Southwest Pacific Railroad Station, Campbell's Corner, and Cozy Kitchen. So those are all things that the Historical Society has identified as particular interest for Main Street. You may have some others that you'd like to share right now, but our main focus for this item is to choose one of you who would serve on that Main Street Industry Mural Selection Committee.
Well, let's take this two questions there. Let's take the first one. For those who have lived here at some length of time or who got to know the city, are there any additional suggestions? These don't have necessarily to reflect Main Street, Tegan. They could actually reflect other areas, right?
I think City Council's intention is that this particular mural be focused on Main Street.
Okay, so why would the Ford plant be included?
It's at the other end of Main Street.
Yeah.
I think that that's what the Historical Society's thought was.
Okay, okay. Al, you didn't mention the first jail. I think there was a jail on Main Street too. A tiny little.
Perhaps there was. I don't remember that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I remember we had also spoken about the Ohlone culture at one point. So are we not having any of that in the main mural project?
I think that this particular mural is supposed to be focusing on business, and so celebrating businesses and different industries that took place. We do have other spots in town that could potentially celebrate Indigenous cultures, but this particular mural, I think the focus is businesses.
Do we have the opportunity to suggest innovation or not for this particular business, as we are in the, the gateway to Silicon Valley, and there's so much going on in innovation and creativity?
I suppose that we could suggest that. Is there a particular Main Street business that you are thinking of?
Not in general Main Street, but in general innovation that has happened in Milpitas. So maybe not particularly to Main Street.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Sounds like it needs to be all particular to Main Street. There's not a one that you said that isn't really on Main Street, and innovation, I think, would be a different area, more like McCarthy Ranch and all the surrounding places there. I've been here for a long time, but I can't think of anywhere that they've forgotten. I think they pretty much got it covered with what they have.
The other thing would, of course, would be the school.
Right, the school, the elementary school, which is now the library.
Right.
I would think that definitely should be in there.
Yeah.
And actually across the street is the county medical offices, but I don't think that's what that's not really, it's not so much of a business, and neither is the library if they're focusing on businesses. I think they've got it pretty well.
I did wonder though, across the street from the library is the home of a former doctor in Milpitas, and I don't know if he practiced out of that home. I know at some point in history that was pretty common for doctors to practice out of their homes.
Do you know his name?
Is that Hedges or something like that?
I'm afraid I don't know his name right now, and if I said it, I'd say it wrong.
Did that building get torn down?
No, it's the one that's currently the DeVries house.
DeVries, that's right.
Right.
But I don't know if that was the doctor's name or if that's a subsequent owner.
Yeah. Okay. I just.
The tire place was pretty popular, but now it's been sold. I mean, he really did a lot of stuff in Milpitas.
Again, why is the word temporary for the mural project?
Because it's not fixed onto a permanent location. It's something that can move around. So a temporary one would be something that we're not intending to keep in the same place forever.
Okay. It does raise an issue, and I'm not sure, because there's also there's a similar question I have on 9D. So if we can hold in terms of assigning an individual commissioner for the moment to represent, to be on that panel, and move on to 9C. And I think you'll understand why in a minute, Stephen, when we, can you just give us an update on the Holiday Magic event? And then
but I think if we're going to change the agenda and not vote on something, we probably need to vote to do that. I normally, once you've set the agenda as you did up earlier in the program, you need to stick with it.
Okay.
So.
Okay, so then.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, of course you can.
So is this going to be, so if it's going to be moved around, I would think that it's needs to include sort of current, I mean, because I think companies would like to be on it probably if they're going to have stuff from Main Street. So
they might like to be on it. Part of the mural program that we had proposed indicated that murals wouldn't have business names on them and identifying information, because that makes them a sign, and then they have to go through a different process and be approved by the Planning Commission. So I think for this piece, they're thinking historical businesses as opposed to current businesses.
oh, and then they won't have names, or they will, like Cozy Corner or whatever it was
So
called.
I think it would be okay to have, I think it's okay to have names for defunct businesses.
Okay.
I think the issue would come if you had something that could be construed as a sign or an advertisement for an existing business.
Mhm.
I have
Right.
a question, Tegan. How is it proposed to be a moving mural project? I mean, is it wheeled? I mean, I'm not understanding how it can be moved around.
So I think part of that will have to be answered by the artists themselves to see what they propose. I can envision it that it could potentially be panels. They could be on wheels, or they could be leaned up against something. It could also be a canvasy material that has a frame and could hang on a frame. Those are kind of the things that I'm thinking of that would allow it to move around. But artists are very creative, and I'm sure that they will come up with ideas if we tell them that we want something that's portable. The way this has been communicated to me is obviously it'll be at Holiday Magic when it's unveiled, but then potentially if we had something like the Better Block that had been people had been working on, where we had some sort of an event further down at Main Street, they could move it down there. I think it's intended to be something that we can put out when we're doing an event, wherever the event happens to be.
Like a prop, like a stage prop kind of.
Yeah, I guess if you want to think about it like a backdrop for a stage show or something similar to that. Yeah.
Okay.
So do we have somebody stepping forward to be the panelist, the commissioner panelist for this mural? Well,
I'll do it.
Thank you, Robin.
I was hoping you would do it.
God.
You know a lot more about Milpitas.
Well, you probably do have a point there.
Thank you, Robin. One other site that is no longer there, but there's actually a street named after it, is Carlo. I think it was a dry goods store.
Mm-hmm.
That should be included too. And I know the History Society does have images of that with the original Carlo family standing outside the store.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I think that the one issue then, because we can't change the agenda, one issue I have is that this is described, I think, as a temporary mobile artwork.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't see that this would apply, that the funds from the Public Art Fund could be applied to pay for this.
Actually, our Public Art Fund does allow for artwork to be temporary or permanent.
I'm just reading, and I did read up the other day, the Code of Ordinances, Chapter 20, which describes exactly how the Public Art Funds could be used.
Mm-hmm.
And the first item, and this is the latest version of the ordinances. A, public artwork. It says public art shall be permanently sited and an integral part of the landscaping and or architecture of a building, considering the historical, geographical, and social cultural context of the site. So it doesn't suggest in any way that this could be mobile. And it must be permanent, and it should be affixed to something. So and I could go on and read the rest of it, but that specifically.
I think, John, perhaps you're looking at the developers' public art requirements.
Yes.
This is different from our own. So if what we would be looking at to determine how we can spend the public art fund is the public art fund information. And if you'll give me a moment, I'll see if I can find it and perhaps share it with the group.
While you're doing that, I just had two thoughts. One is the Milpitas Post was on Main Street. And two is we had a lot of not only the tire place, but places that fixed car fixing places. And I think that could be represented in a artistic way, because it was really, so that's where you went to get your cars fixed, or buy tires or brakes, or, you know, I had a great mechanic on Main Street.
Yeah, you're right, Robin. And also the car wash.
True. And then they made cars.
That's right.
Ford. Yeah. So, I mean, just to have like wrenches and tires and newspapers, and it could be, yeah. I'm done.
Those are good ideas. Thank you for suggesting those. I am trying to find the public art portion that I wanted to reference. Unfortunately, I'm not finding it right now. Since I have help online tonight, Vince, can you do me a favor, please, and look and see if you can find it on the municipal code and look for public art fund while we're continuing our discussion?
Okay, will do.
Thank you.
Okay.
But for now, the my recollection is that the public art fund can be used for the city to acquire artwork. It can be used for both permanent and temporary art that we're acquiring. It can also be used for art related activities. So for example, if we wanted to purchase stands to have a display of paintings or something, the art fund can be used for things like that and for administrative purposes.
Okay, Tigran. Well, I'm just reading from the ordinances, and they do describe, and there's a whole definition on the public art funds and how it can be used. But I stand to be corrected if you've got something that's more current or different. But I think we should check and verify that before we go ahead and commit to it.
Okay. I would like to at least go with our agenda items of selecting commissioners today and pre-qualifying muralists.
We've already have Robin stepping forward to be the panelist on this. Okay.
Yeah, great.
Okay. So we move on to 9C, holiday magic event update.
Sure, happy to move on to 9C. So holiday magic, as I think we've mentioned in meetings before, is going to be a transformation of Main Street over a period of 15 days from December 4th through the 19th. The event is located primarily in a parking lot owned by the city underneath 237, just south of the library on Main Street. And during the weekdays, that will be the footprint of our event. When we have weekend activities, we anticipate more people, and we anticipate the event spilling out on Main Street up to the library. So it will go up to, as far as Weller potentially on Main Street, and also be on Windsor, which is the little back street behind the library's parking garage as well. And our Holiday Magic event is focused around a synthetic ice rink that we're bringing in. And of course, we'll bring in Santa Claus and our mobile stage, which you guys have a special interest in because of the performing. We will be having performers on that, as well as on the steps of the old grammar school at the library. And we will probably have some additional performers of the busker variety, folks walking around performing or performing in different locations throughout the event. We also hope to have public art at the event, and that is going to be the focus of our temporary Holiday Magic Murals project. So I've included in your report the current calendar for Holiday Magic on Main, showing you special days that we will be having during the midweek dates to attract people to come to the event. We're fairly confident that weekend crowds won't be a problem because people will be looking for fun things to do with their families at holiday time, but it is sometimes hard to bring people out in the evening on a weeknight. So those have special themes. Of special note for us is that Silver Bells Nostalgia Night on the 13th, on Monday the 13th. That is the date that we are really trying to get our historical mural ready to unveil. We thought that Nostalgia Night would be the perfect night to unveil something related to Milpitas history. So that kind of gives you an idea of what the event is going to look like. We are currently seeking sponsors from local businesses as well as local performers. We will have food vendors, so we are inviting local restaurants and local food trucks to join us. And then on the weekends, we'll have some vendor booth opportunities for folks who are selling gift items and that kind of thing. So very exciting for us. But really, we just wanted to give you that report and give you a sense of what the event looks like. If you are to look at the attachments, you would see the footprint of the event included and highlighted in yellow just below the library. And that sort of shows you the whole area in yellow with, you know, a kind of an indication where the streets will be blocked, and you can see the stage area and the skating rink that we would be adding. I think, what else did I include here for you? Oh, I included sponsorship information. We are also working on snow globes, which have a potential for an artistic element in them. They are basically the big plastic spheres that you would see on a light, a street light. And they've been mounted on a bird bath, and they look like little snow globes. And so we can have artistic little scenes inside these snow globes. And we are interested in finding some local artists to help us create those insides of the snow globes. And I think that's it on the main event update right now.
Well, I happen to know, Jiva, that you've been working very, very hard. Well, you and your team have been working very, very hard on this. And so congratulations, and I hope it really is a success. So specifically, is there anything that you're asking the commission to be involved in during the 19 days?
We would love to have your involvement and support, certainly with the murals, with the snow globes as we get that figured out, with helping us find performers and encouraging performers to participate. If you know any artistic businesses that would like to sell their wares during the weekends, you can point them our direction. And of course, sponsors of all types. We'd love to have you, suggest names if you know somebody that we should contact. And then we certainly just hope you'll come out, not just once, but several times to see all the excitement. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're really looking forward to it. And you will see that the event kind of grows as we go over the 15 days. It will start great, but it will get bigger and better as we go because we'll be adding decorations and adding things as we proceed through the weeks.
So in terms of booths or whatever you call them, are you out there inviting artisans?
We are, we've been inviting local businesses. We haven't made a full push to artisans from other places yet, other than Milpitas, but we would welcome your helping us get in touch with artists who would like to do that. It isn't an art and wine festival kind of atmosphere. I do want to caution there's a limited amount of space that we have for the booths because we do have the ice rink, we do have the stage, and then, you know, our area is the front sidewalk in front of the library. So it really will have like one row of booths as opposed to sometimes bigger venues can have multiple rows. And, you know, like the fairgrounds would have certainly a lot more than we could have.
And the library will be open?
The library will be open during its normal hours, and we're really excited that they'll be participating with us. They have some exciting things planned, including one of the performances. They are sponsoring a puppet show on their steps, so that'll be fun.
And how are we addressing diversity? Because I noticed there's a lot of Christmas flavors to this, the caroling and so on. Is there, what are we trying to do in terms of outreach for?
Sure, so there's lots of winter holidays. Every culture seems to have its own winter holidays. And so we are reaching out to performers from various cultures. We're particularly excited about the Global Holidays Night, which is the Thursday. And on that night, we are celebrating not only in the, you know, performances, but also in the decorations, all the different holidays. So we're having fun, you know, figuring out Diwali decorations that we can add and Posadas decorations. And I know I won't say it right, but the Filipino holiday traditions. So yes, we're incorporating all those various things into the event as we go along.
Okay.
As a commissioner, would it be okay for me to be a vendor, or that's not something I can?
Yeah, no, a vendor, any business in town can be a vendor. I'll send you information on it.
I opened the door for you, Jerry.
Yeah. Sorry?
I said I opened the door for you.
I will send you vendor information. Thank you for your interest.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah.
Well, if from the other commissions, if you've ever seen any of Jaida's work, you really, it's really very special.
Thank you.
I did have one more question, Tegan. You obviously have reached out to the high school or to the school district,
We have reached out to the schools. We don't have a firm commitment from any of the schools yet, but we are really hoping that many of the schools will send choirs and bands and dance troupes and folks to perform.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm working with a group at the high school that might be very interested in working on the snow groves, for instance.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So I guess I just stay in touch with you and.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
There are also some dance schools here who should be connected because they're performing all the time. So they would definitely want to have this as an opportunity to perform.
Yeah.
There is a Bollywood dance team that operates from Milpitas. It's pretty well done. And of course there are other dance schools, but I know about this particular school, which is quite renowned in the community.
I think I know the one that you're thinking of. Yeah, we have reached out to all the schools that we are aware of. Not all of them are able to participate or ready to make a commitment, but if you have a way to share that information with them or contact me and let me know, just to make sure that we've reached out to the ones that you're thinking of, that would be great.
So this may be an unfair question, and it's the last one. The stage, what will be on stage?
What will be on stage? Do you mean what type of performances will be?
Yeah, I guess the stage is in that circular area where that circle is. So from a sound standpoint, because I know that there is a challenge with acoustics, will there be singing or?
So yes, we envision that there might be singing or musical instruments or dance on stage. Okay. And we will have sound support when we're using the stage. The stage won't be out every single day, but when it's out, it will have sound support.
Okay. Okay. I have no more questions. Does anybody else have any more questions? All right. The only other, I guess, there's one more request, and that is, it would be good to know, and I don't know how we do this, Tegan, and I don't want to create any more work for you during the event, but I would really like to know how many people visit, and how many of those are local versus out of towners, people that are actually coming in from local cities.
Sure.
It's interesting to know that.
It would be. So I can tell you some of the ways that we can count. We'll never get a precise count unless we put a fence around the event and get people on the way in.
Right.
But City Council was also interested in knowing the answer to how do we count people. So typically with big events like this, you can count the things that are countable. So we can count how many people buy an ice rink admission. We can count how the food vendors do. We can count when people are seated at something, like if they're watching a performance, we can count how many people are sitting down. And then our staff is fairly good at counting people in a crowd and kind of estimating how big is the crowd, how dense is the crowd. So we will do that. We will probably have to resort to surveys to help us determine how many are Milpitas residents versus non. So what I'm talking about is something like a short survey where you ask, 100 people on the night, are you, Milpitas resident or not? And then you sort of extrapolate that, okay, well, if, 50%, if 50 of our 100 people were Milpitas residents, then half of our people visiting are. So that's kind of what we're going to have to do. But we will try.
I'm sure it's going to be a success, Tina.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And you will be able to get a sense for the climate immediately. We put a QR code for a survey every different day, and that I think gives you real-time information.
That would be great, and we do like QR codes, so that would be an excellent idea as to how we can keep track every day.
Great. So we've received the report. There are no more questions. Okay, let's move on then to 9D, Temporary Holiday Magic Murals Project.
Okay, so if you've been down to the area that we're having the event, you have probably noticed that there are some more industrial looking views. It doesn't look that magical right now in certain spots. And so as part of our effort to make it magical, we are going to install some temporary murals on construction fencing. And if you've traveled in San Jose, maybe you've seen them do this. A lot of big cities are sort of getting into painting artwork on construction walls, construction fences, because you've got this big blank space. And if you don't do something with it, it's a, you know, temptation for graffiti artists. So there is a space that faces the railroad track that could benefit from having something attractive to sort of hide the railroad tracks and what's back there. There is a automobile area, automobile business that is adjacent to that parking lot that also could probably benefit from something to screen so you're not seeing the old cars back there while you're ice skating. And the third area that we're potentially looking at, there's a vacant lot as you come out of the into or out of the library's garage. And it's just an empty lot with a small wooden fence. But that's not very scenic as well. So those are all things that if we could put a temporary mural up, that would it would lend a certain atmosphere to the festival area that we're looking for, that would be much more magical than the current view. So what we are thinking is that it would be really cool to hire an artist to direct the public in creating these large murals to hide those areas that are, you know, they don't look holiday-ish to us. And so that's what this temporary holiday magic murals project would be. So those construction screens, certainly they would be super useful during the event and create the magic that we're trying to create. We're calling them temporary because they're on construction fencing. Theoretically, there may be a way to take them down at the end of the festival and use them again for future years. But we're really looking forward to something that the public can get involved in, and we can have some painting parties with the public in advance of the festival. And, you know, I'd like to see something that could involve young people as, you know, well as adults painting, and coming up with something that, you know, would really look pretty and look like Milpitas. And yeah. So anyway, that is what I'm seeking a commissioner to serve on that temporary mural project for.
Okay, so do you have any questions?
This is for 9D, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Will we be able to see the ideas that you are saying? Would we be able to see how are you envisioning this, like a draft or?
No, you wouldn't as the commission, really, because things are moving so quickly. What would happen would be that the commissioner who is on the selection panel, we would give parameters to the artists that selection panel shortlists. And we would say, you know, we are trying to cover up these walls during this time frame. We want the public to participate in the painting if possible. We, you know, would like it to seem holiday-ish. And, you know, here's what the rest of the event looks like, and then see what the artists come up with. And so our selection panel would be the one that would be seeing the various designs and picking one.
Very good. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So Tegan, so both I don't know, we have to distinguish between the two, but the mobile art, the one we talked about on 9B,
Mm-hmm.
and the one we're talking about, or the artwork, I guess, for 9D,
Mm-hmm.
those are both considered murals within the mural program that we talk about on 9A. Is that correct?
Certainly the temporary Main Street mural one is, yes. The Holiday Magic murals one, I actually would have to check to see if that's independent from the murals program or if that is part of the event, because City Council approved Holiday Magic on Main Street prior to approving the murals project, the murals policy. So I don't think it's the same. It is a mural, but I don't think it quite falls into that.
Okay. Okay, well, that is a side issue, I guess, and you can get some clarification on that.
Mhm.
Is there, as you understand at this point, is there money or is there any range of money that you're expecting to spend on out of the public fund for 9B or 9D?
Yes.
Okay.
So City Council approved $50,000 for the mural program for the year.
Yes.
And so my understanding is that 9B would include some portion of that 50,000.
All right.
Probably right now I'm thinking it's about a quarter of that.
Yes. Okay.
We were also, when we did our budget for Holiday Magic, which is the event, we had discussed using public art funds for the public art elements at the event, and there's money in there for that as well. So, but that's, I believe that's separate, and it's on the order of 12,000.
I'm sorry, you have to help me understand what you mean by that. So because Holiday Magic was, I guess, approved by council before the mural plan, is that right?
Right. Holiday Magic was approved by council during the budgeting. So
Yeah.
it was at the beginning of the summer.
Yeah.
And we hadn't come to them with the mural program at that time, but
Right.
they did at that time indicate that they would like to see public art at the Holiday Magic event, and that it would be okay to spend a small portion of public art fund money on that.
Okay.
So I believe that they're two separate funding. They're both public art fund money, but I believe they're two separate buckets that
So
City Council has.
the first one you're saying comes out of the 50,000. The 9B, the mobile.
Yes, I believe 9B is considered one of the 4 murals for the year.
Okay. And it's still not clear whether the second one is part of that or not.
I'm not entirely certain whether they are envisioning it as one of the 4 or if it's envisioned as its own thing, because like I said, it was discussed prior to our discussing 4 murals a year.
Okay.
So yeah, I would have to get some clarification on that.
Okay. Okay. I do have an issue with the mobile unit, the 9B. I still, unless Vince has come up with some support for the decision, I still question whether that fits in with what I understand the city ordinance is defined as being public art that could be used for the art fund, paid for out of the public art fund. The second one, 9D, I have a real problem because that is very temporary. That is not permanent. So I'm a little concerned again as to what the justification for that would be, taking it out of the public art fund.
I also have a question about 9D. You are saying that it's a community inclusive event, which is involving an artist. So if a mural artist is coming to paint, she or he is allowing the public to paint. Like if I get high schoolers to come and help, is that how it's going to be, that students are going to be painting with the mural artist? And if so, then
Our hope is that the public would be involved somehow. The space that one needs to paint to cover up the areas that we want to use these murals for is quite large. So I don't think a single person would be able to do it, especially in such a short period of time. So I think our best strategy for getting attractive art for it would probably be to have an artist direct the community in creating it, which is not uncommon in murals. There's oftentimes murals where members of the public have been directed by an artist how to paint something.
And so the members of the public are paid as well? How is the how is the funds distributed in this case?
So the city would be purchasing supplies for a mural to be created by the public with an artist directing the public. I guess I'm not quite understanding your question.
So when, you know, an artist is saying that this is how much money she would be charging to create a mural, and if this is a public inclusive mural, who is getting paid? Is it the artist?
Well, the artist would be getting some sort of a commission because they would be designing the mural, and then they would be overseeing a large crowd of people to create the artwork. So you would be definitely paying the artist for that design and for the job of wrangling the public to create something beautiful. So the members of the public would not be getting paid if that's what they would be volunteers.
Okay, I'm getting it now. I've never come across this idea. So this is.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
As we're going through the artists' work in a little bit, you'll see some where they've had students or different groups paint. It's really common at schools where they'll hire an artist to design something and then somehow involve the student body in creating it.
Okay, that's wonderful. I would be interested in being part of this team. Yeah.
Okay, does Vince, is Vince still with us? Has he been able to?
Vince, did you happen to locate that section?
No, I apologize. I haven't been able to find it.
Okay. So I think, Chair, I will have to find the information for you, but I can't do it right in the middle of the meeting. So I'll have to share that with you at a later date. I can probably send you all a link after the meeting to the Muni Code location where that is, or we can take a short break and I can try to look for it myself. But we have a lot to do tonight, so.
Well, I understand. I feel that this is critical. This is important, and I'm quite happy to be wrong, but at the same time, I feel I have the correct information that I've researched. It's there. It's part of the Code of Ordinances, and neither of these two art projects, these murals, could be. It doesn't stop the city from doing it, but should not be funded out of the public art fund. So I don't know where we go from here, Tegan, if we can't resolve it tonight.
We may have to take a quick recess then to let me look it up.
I think that's I don't know how the other commissioners feel about this, but how long do you think you need?
I don't know, maybe 10 minutes. I'd actually, if you don't mind, I'd prefer to get through the agenda and then take a quick recess.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah, that's a good idea.
Okay.
So then we'll hold on that, and we'll get into then 9E, the Muralist Pre-Qualifications.
Did we have a commissioner selected for that one though? I think we did. I think Vice Chair Ghosh.
I think Joy did.
Yeah, I did put in my name for that, if it's okay.
And I don't see anybody else raising their hand for it right now.
Thank you, Joyita.
Okay. All right. So the Muralist Pre-Qualifications, this is the big item for the night, 9E. And I'm going to have some help with from IT on this one as well, as we try to share with you the artists. First, I want to call up my my presentation.
Okay, and as I figured, I think you were, because there are quite a number, I don't know how many there are, what we're going to suggest is that you present the individuals, their qualifications, their background, and then at the end, and we will take notes as we go through, and at the end, and then we'll come back and ask any questions and follow up. Is that correct?
Thank you, John. Yes, that's exactly right.
Okay.
IT, are you able to see the Arts Commission presentation in the folder that I shared with you? It's the PowerPoint presentation.
Yes, I have that. That's the one you want up right now?
Yes, please. So while he's getting the presentation up, I wanted to go through quickly the pre-qualification process so you all understand what we're trying to do tonight. What we'd like to do is pre-qualify a large pool of potential artists for various projects that you might want to do throughout the year as part of this mural program. And then, as we mentioned earlier, each project will have its own mural selection committee, and those mural selection committees will turn to your portfolio of pre-qualified artists to select their shortlist. And they will choose a limited number of people from the pre-qualified list to invite to create a design specific to that project. So for example, the two that we're thinking about tonight, those committees would choose a small number to create something for, next slide, please. And then you'll catch up to where I am. They will choose from the pool to create a small group of artists to create a design for either the historical mural or the holiday magic mural. Pre-qualified artists that you pre-qualify tonight would remain in the pool for 2 years, and then they would need to reapply after that. Being pre-qualified is not going to guarantee that an artist would be chosen by any of the mural selection committees, and it would not guarantee that they get a commission, but it would guarantee that they be available to be seen by these selection committees. Next slide, please.
I think I have a question.
Sure.
Or do I need to hold the questions for last?
Right now, while we're trying to discuss how we're doing it, I'll take the questions because I want you to understand what you're.
Sure. So if we select, like, let's say from a pool of these artists, if one artist wins one specific mural or like any artwork, can he qualify for another art, or is he out? Is it one and out? Or
yeah,
like
we don't actually have anything in our ordinance or in our, we don't have a public art master plan. So we don't have anything that specifies somebody can only do one project. We have an artist or two who've done multiple projects in Milpitas. And so right now that is possible.
Okay, thanks.
Mm-hmm. So our timeline that we're looking at is tonight, you're pre-qualifying the artists and selecting commissioners to serve on each of those selection committees for the council directed projects. I am hoping to get those selection committees to meet very quickly. So that means Robin and Joita, you guys are on tap for probably a meeting this week to look at some artists. I don't think it'll be a long meeting, but we're going to try to pull those together real quick. And I'm hoping that we can get the muralists that you shortlist to submit designs by the end of October. So they will need to work quickly also. And then those selection committees would be able to review the projects and recommend their specific muralists. We are targeting having the Holiday Magic mural done by December 4th and the Main Street Industries mural done by December 13th. So you can see we're on a super tight timeline if we're going to meet City Council's expectation for when those get done. Next slide, please.
And presumably, Tegan, these selection committees will be public, is that right?
Yes, they will be comprised of members of the public, and yes, they will be public.
So if we want to attend, we being any of the commissioners other than the panel selected committee?
Yes, they would be like a subcommittee.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So then after Holiday Magic, then we can take a breath, and then we can review other mural sites that the community will have nominated and sites that you yourself may have nominated, and recommend other sites to City Council for the remainder of this year. And then those would also have their own selection committees. So if you're not serving on a selection committee right now, perhaps you would serve on one for a project coming up during the year.
And the year you're talking about is the fiscal year, the city year, is that right?
Yes, I'm talking about the fiscal year for the city. So while it feels like a breather to have January through June to create some more murals, it still is relatively quick.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Next slide, please. So the artist selection criteria for tonight, based on the samples that are provided, we want to see if the artist appears to have the ability to design work that's tailored to the space, excuse me, and the specific needs of the project. We also want to tell whether we think the artist has appropriate experience to successfully complete the piece. Is the artist's work original in general? Obviously, you're not seeing a particular proposal for Milpitas, but you should be able to tell whether the artist's work is original, whether it's of high quality design, and whether it's suitable or appealing for this community in general. Next slide, please. So there's, oops, looks like I've sent this without saving it because I have a sentence that doesn't really end. I'm sorry about that. Instructions for pre-qualifying. I want you to try to think of the whole variety of projects and locations that this could be for, not just the two projects we discussed tonight. So it could potentially be anything from a wall on the side of a privately owned business, if a privately owned property owner, wants to participate, as we had discussed earlier. It could be a wall on a city-owned facility. It could be something small like a utility box. It could be basically any surface that we chose to decorate. The other thing that I wanted to convey, which I did so badly because I didn't hit save, is you're trying to imagine what would this look like to other people in Milpitas. And it's hard sometimes when you're choosing artwork, or even harder still when you're pre-qualifying artists, to think about not just what do I like, but what does somebody else like? And if you could, while you're going through this, try to imagine, if you don't like a particular piece, do you think that school kids might like it at their school? Or do you think that folks, somebody might like it, the kids might like it at the skate park? Do you think that a business owner might like this to represent their business? So, or be near their business, it wouldn't be representing their business, but try to picture the artists in a variety of applications, I guess is what I'm going with this. Next slide, please. So here is a list of the artists that we're going to look at tonight. Obviously, if you have a financial arrangement with any of these artists, you would need to disqualify yourself when we're considering them. But I think if you know the person professionally, that's perfectly fine. Sometimes in the art world, we do end up knowing each other. Next slide, please. So I think what we want to do, the recommendation that staff has is that please pre-qualify all artists that the majority of the commission believes could create a successful project in Milpitas. whether or not it's the projects we're talking about right now, if it's, you know, a utility box that we decide to do 2 years down the road or anything, if you think they could create a successful project, we should be pre-qualifying them so they're at least on the list and available to those selection committees. Next slide, please. So I will, after tonight, we will release a site nomination form. Probably won't happen immediately because we aren't going to be choosing any sites until January, but we will be issuing a site nomination form so that people can suggest sites that they might like to see murals. And we will also need your help in recruiting Milpitas murals. As I mentioned earlier, City Council has indicated that they want one of the murals to be painted by a Milpitas artist. And having gone through the 20 that we're going to look at tonight, we have no Milpitas artists in the bunch. We have others that are local from neighboring cities, but none who actually live in Milpitas. So if we're to choose a Milpitas artist, we will need your help going forward to look for those folks. Now comes the fun part. We're going to look at the artwork. So Matthias, if you could go to Lee Abellana's work, and it's the file, I think it's probably called, hang on a minute, let me open my shortcuts. Actually, would it be easier for me to just share from my screen, do you think?
I can do it too. I mean, whatever
Okay.
you prefer.
Okay, I'll tell you which one to share, but I'll follow along with you. Okay, so on the Lee Abellana folder, if you could go to the mural portfolio slide. And we are going to zip through these pretty quickly. As John said, what I'd like for you to do is not ask any questions as we're going through the artists, but take notes. And you're basically independent of each other on your own, you know, kind of, would you choose this artist for something? And if not, or if you have a question about it, make a note so that we can talk about them later. I think we'll talk about the ones that people have a concern with rather than the ones that people don't have any concerns with.
Are they numbered?
Slide it down to the one. Are they numbered? No, each artist has submitted them a little bit differently. And so you can sort of see if they've included some notes about them. This one was for a disaster cleanup company in Sand City. Next slide, or if keep scrolling down. And he's got notes on his as to where they are. This is for a park, utility box. Library. And a rec center. This one's in the Philippines. And that one's also in the Philippines. Or no, actually, I guess that one's in Salinas. Okay. So see, I told you we were going to go quickly. Hopefully you have some thoughts on Lee Abellana and you've made a note to yourself so that we can talk about him later if you have any concerns. Okay, next one is Alicia Cardell. And so if we go to Alicia's folder, Matthias, she's got individual JPEGs, so we're going to have to scroll through those individual JPEGs. So we can start with the disinfect to protect roadblock, I guess. That's probably first one on your list. So Alicia's a newer artist. She's got some work in a hotel that she's going to show us and some stuff for the city of Palo Alto. And okay, so these were a series of roadblocks that were put up, humorous roadblocks Palo Alto put up to sort of encourage people during the pandemic. Next image, please. And I realize we're going to have to go back and forth on this one. Okay, this is in the hotel. This is a series of paintings in a hotel. And you can, Matthias, you can just go through them quickly. Also in the hotel. Also in that same hotel. So she's got that black and white theme going on the hotel walls. This is a stairwell, and that's a group project. So you can see that this is a situation where the artist has designed it and had other people helping to paint the stairwell wall. And then a couple more items for that City of Palo Alto COVID-related roadblocks project. Okay. So hopefully you've made your notes on Alicia. Next one is Greg Chung. And
that's C-H-E-U-N-G.
C-H-E-U-N-G. And Greg is a retired doctor who's recently gotten into painting murals. He's got 2 to share with us. This one is at the fairgrounds in Santa Clara, the Saratoga mural. And this Mason symbology one is at the San Jose Mason Center, Masonic Center Library. And so I think we've perhaps, have we seen all of his, or does he have one more? Got that Saratoga one. Yeah, so he hasn't done a whole lot yet, but nice work. Next one is Robert Delgado. Robert Delgado has a lot to show us. He's from Los Angeles. He does a lot of painting on glass, and some of his murals have been high fired. So they're not just strictly painted on the wall. Let's see, he's done some acrylic mobiles. I think we saw acrylic mobile earlier. Some of these, this one is high fired, then that's regular traditional mural. Matthias, did we reach the end of his?
Yes.
Okay, so that is Roberto Delgado. Our next one's going to be Jessica Eastburn. And I'm sorry we have to go so quickly, but there's so many to look at. Okay, so could you start over with Jessica real quick? I'm sorry, because I think I was talking and we didn't see the first one. Okay, so Jessica's got a really whimsical style, kind of cartoonish almost. This utility box, that first utility box is from Dublin, from one that when I was there, she painted. Obviously, utility boxes and then large scale murals as well. And then this one's at a high school in San Jose.
That's it.
That's it, okay. So that's Jessica Eastburn. Our next one is Esther Hall. Okay, Esther's got a fairly whimsical style too. I think you might need to scroll up a little bit to show us.
Whose was the owl?
The owl?
Owl and the birds.
Oh yeah, that was Jessica Eastburn.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, she has sort of several different looks. This is Esther Hall. And the mural on the bottom, could you go back one, please? I think you can see that that is 3D. So she does some 3D stuff as well as flat.
Mm-hmm.
Next slide. Or I guess they're not slides. They're okay. So this is Esther Hall. Thank you. Next one is going to be Joha Harrison. Joha is an emerging artist, so hasn't got a lot of work yet to show us, but a couple of pieces.
In a way, aren't we simply seeing if there's anything that we think would not be appropriate to be in the panel?
Yeah, you're looking to see whether you think these artists have the potential to do anything in Milpitas, basically.
Which, so far, all of them do to me, but I see it as something where we're just looking to make sure there's no one we think is not appropriate for anything whatsoever.
That's pretty much it right now. Yeah.
Okay, just want to make sure.
Next one is Eddie Sue. It's also giving you a kind of a good overview of the different kinds of murals that people can do.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
So you're seeing stuff on canvas. You're seeing things on walls.
This is Eddie Sue.
This is Eddie Sue. Yeah. Still on Eddie Sue.
That's it.
That's it. Okay. Then we're going to look at Sunroop Kaur. I'm sure I'm not saying that last name right.
No, you did say it right.
Did I? Oh, good. Okay. Thank you.
And I didn't get the name.
Sunroop is the first name.
Okay.
So on a Connex box, that's definitely a good mural background thing that you can paint on. We have some of those in our parks holding equipment.
That's it.
That's it. Okay. The next one is going to be Deborah Kopman. Deborah has a ton of, oh yeah, you'll have to scroll down a little past that. She's got her resume at the top of the file, but subsequent pages have artwork. Keep going. There we go. Now we're into the artwork. Okay. So Deborah does a combination of tile and acrylic. So you'll see that as we go through.
You have a very good selection this year.
We have some interesting ones, don't we? Yeah. Some of Deborah's, I think, this one, in fact, is an example. Some of hers, she's had students do the tiling.
Oh my goodness, beautiful.
So this is from a school as well. I think that's her last one, isn't it? Nope.
Yes.
Okay.
No.
There's one more. Okay. And so these are tiles as well. Okay. The next one we're going to look at is a husband and wife team called Rough Edge Collective.
I have Adrian Lippmann next. Oh, you want to see Rough Edge Collective?
Oh, I'm sorry. You know what? I have it out of order. Go with Adrian. That's fine. That's fine.
Yeah, Adrian Lippmann.
Right, that's fine. And you will be familiar with Adrian's work because he's already done some in Milpitas. So that's here in town. And you recognize that from the senior center. And that's from the senior center.
Oh, excuse me.
Bless you. Okay.
That's it.
That's it. Okay. So you've seen Adrian's things. What do you have next?
Elba Raquel Martinez.
Okay.
Also pretty small.
So there's an example. You're seeing multiple people painting, members of the public helping to paint.
Okay.
Okay.
Next is Peter Moen.
Thank you.
Is there just one there?
Yeah, he's just got one. He's an emerging artist, so he's only got one. He's a student or recently graduated, maybe. So yeah, this is a student project. Next slide. Our next artist.
Hugh Newell.
Hugh Newell, okay. Doesn't have a whole lot of murals either. He's also relatively new.
That's it. Next
Okay.
one. Now it's Orlua Arts.
For Orlu Arts, yeah, and you'll all be familiar with this one because they were a finalist for the Montague Pedestrian Overcrossing. So you've seen their work lately too, and we'll have to scroll past her resume to get to the artwork.
Can you go back to that, just back 2 slides very quickly? That one. Thank you.
For those who remember her, she's the one that paints on parachute cloth in her studio and then fixes it to the building.
Right.
She also does actual mural painting on the walls. I like actually painting them. This one's one where she really painted it on the wall.
There's an, oh, sorry. That one was an example that shows you kind of a construction wall type mural where it's a long, really long wall.
Yeah.
But I haven't yet seen any mobile murals.
Any what murals?
Any mobile murals, yeah.
No, I don't know that we've seen any tonight. Maybe I'll have to get some examples to share with you guys.
Is this still Orlu Arts?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
So there's a mobile one. Somebody's holding it.
Tegan.
Yeah, Josh is absolutely right. Any of these could be turned into mobile, I mean, painted on something that you can move. Don't you think?
A lot of them for sure. Matthias, are we on Luis Pinto now?
Yes, coming up.
Luis Pinto.
How many do we have, Tegan?
We have a total of 20. We're getting to the end here.
Yeah.
I think you have 3 or 4 more.
Oh, it's windy outside.
You up in the hills?
Yeah.
I think that's the last one, isn't it?
One more.
That's one's the last one. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. And then we have Sam Rodriguez. Sam is primarily an illustrator, but he's gotten more murals lately. This is for San Jose.
So Sam.
Mm-hmm.
That's it on this one.
Yeah, okay. Now here's my Rough Edge collage collective that I had out of order because their last name starts with L, so I had it earlier in the pile.
Rough Edge. What is this collective?
It's a husband and wife team, and they paint under the name Rough Edge Collective.
I see. Too much luggage.
They local?
They are in Santa Rosa.
Mm-hmm. Huh.
That's it for that one.
Okay. Then I think you're done with that one. There's no more pictures.
Yeah, there's 2 more. There's 2
right.
more.
So the next one is City.
I'm sorry, say that again.
The next artist's name is Sidy, S-I-D-Y. And well, I think we only have one image. No, I guess maybe we have more than that.
Last one is.
The last one's Ellie Solberg.
Ellie?
Yes.
Set.
Okay, thank you. So again, at the beginning, I asked, we're really looking for any that you think don't have the potential to do anything in Milpitas. If they have potential to do something, we should keep them on the list at this point.
I think they're all fine. They're all very good.
Thank you, Robin.
I mean, really, let's put it this way. Does anybody see one they think should be knocked off the list? Hearing nothing. I want to say one thing though.
Thank you, Robin. I think we've got to give it a little bit more than that. There are some, I think, that from my perspective, are too early in their formation stage, their development stage, that probably, if I were to select them, I'd be waiting to see what happens in the next few years. That's just my comment.
I can give two names. Peter Moen and Hugh Newell. I felt they didn't have enough for us to look at.
I would agree with you on Peter Moen. Who was the other one?
Hugh Newell.
Yeah, both of them were they're emerging or relatively new.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm gonna force some reaction from some others. Juliana, come on, you've been around a long time.
Who? I think I'm a little bit with Robin. All of them have the potential. So if we want to narrow down, we have to have like some, not common criteria, but a real basis for not inviting them to be in the pool for the future. I particularly liked the collective of the husband and wife. I thought that was very interesting. And yes, there's some young artists. And as you say, John, it would be very interesting to see them moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
But as in size, as in production, I think they would all qualify unless we have a much more restrictive criteria.
This is not, they will be screened again. This is only to leave them on a list where they would be screened again. And if they were selected, they would be screened yet again. And if we're going to have this list continue, you know, they could emerge. They could also, you know, I see no reason that would knock them off the list, which doesn't, even being on the list doesn't mean they're going to be selected.
Yeah. What I saw were very interesting was we have a very young city with a lot of young people and their view of art is a little bit different, very modern, abstract. And in this collection of artists, I see a lot of that. So it is very interesting to see the work this time.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to say something as having been on this commission newly now, but 20 years in the past, probably. I was always disappointed, not always, but very often in Milpitas, disappointed with what we ended up with for our art, considering how good the projects were in the past. And I think it is because we always gave them so many guidelines. We always said, okay, I wanted to include this and this and this. It has to be history. We want to see cornfields. We want to see this, that. And we got much more boring art than what I saw represented. and it didn't look like their normal art when they came to our city, because we always like gave them these, you know, restrictive guidelines, making it much more conservative. I saw a lot of whimsy in those. And I like even Main Street, if we let them just do it instead of saying we want this and this and this and this, and we want this person in here and this person in there. I just think we get better art when I see theirs compared to what the end production in our city. It's one thing I'd like for us to be careful of. The other is that through the years on the art commission, we would come together. We finally came together at one point and said, you know what, we all need to be more critical. Everybody's so agreeable. When we see something we're not thrilled with, if other people are saying that's great, then everybody goes along with them, rather than, you know, and then you find out later, none of us liked it that much, but we thought it because everyone else did, we would say yes. So we really have to speak up when it comes to selecting them. And I would like to see us letting them use their imagination instead of us saying, you know, we want these specifics.
Very well said, Robin. I totally agree.
Thank you.
Well, I don't know where we go from that one. I think we have to feel comfortable, all of us, to say what really we feel. You've chosen the Art Commission because you have a bent for art, either in terms of appreciation, experience, or whatever. So I concur with you, Robin. And we actually have a good team here. We have a team that has some strong background in different areas. So I can't disagree. I mean, if the group as a whole feels that the 20, how did the 20 come up, Tegan? How long did we have to go out and get reactions and responses from artists?
We had about a month.
Okay.
So yeah, we could, the longer we leave it up, or, you know, continue to accept artists, the more we'll get.
And we're past the deadline now, is that right?
We are past the deadline, but I know we will need to reopen it because we don't have any Milpitas artists on the list, and City Council has directed us to do one with a Milpitas artist. So I have to reopen it again.
But it's a pretty good number that have applied. I think 20 in 1 month is very, very important.
Juliana, they might be hungry.
Is there any way for us to find out who the artists are in Milpitas? Just seems like there should be some sort of search we could do on that. Did we do? I guess we could.
Sure. I mean, we were not able to find any muralists in Milpitas that, you know, have identified as muralists on some of the mural groups, but that doesn't mean there's not somebody out there that does it.
Yeah, and there aren't that many muralists around, so I can see how there wouldn't be anyone in Milpitas. And again, we're like limiting. If we limit it to Milpitas, we'll probably end up with the worst one because there aren't really famous muralists here. Or we could. I'm just saying we could.
If we found one muralist that lives or works in Milpitas, has a studio in Milpitas, we could add that person to the list. Is that sufficient for the council, or are we saying?
Well, it wouldn't give that selection committee very much to pick from. They'd only have one person to pick from.
Right. And presumably the council is saying that one of the final choices for.
They're saying that one of the chosen artists to paint something. So of your 4 murals a year, one of them needs to be painted by a Milpitas person. So.
But if no one applies and we can't find anyone, I mean, I'll go talk to the city council. That's getting a little, I mean, they're just making their art not as good. Is what
there might be some students in Milpitas. I know, you know, some of our students are very talented.
We did the students for our boxes and they're not as good as other cities. I'm telling you.
Well, that's not totally true, Robin. I know at least two that I think are very done very well.
I know there are a few that are done very well.
Yeah.
But some of them drive me nuts when I drive by them.
Oh, Robin.
So they do. I'm going to speak out this time instead of waiting till we see stuff that is not as good as other cities. We have in other cities, your boxes blend into the background and they go with the surroundings. We've got all the ocean on the middle of Jacqueline Avenue. It's just crazy. So,
okay.
I'm sure that the high school can come up with a good idea and a group of students under the leadership of the art teacher.
Juliana, I can't speak for Cal Hills, but I'm working with a dozen muralists, young muralists from the high school, and we've got two projects going. One actually at the high school and one at one of the elementary schools.
Yeah.
But they're still, they need a lot of direction and guidance.
Yeah.
And the one actually that stood out is on her way to Davis at this point. She was a non-voting student commissioner for us. I'm not sure. I'm not sure that I know of. We could speak with. There are several art teachers there that we could perhaps talk with, Juliana, that might have some suggestions.
Yeah.
Maybe if we can have this Milpitas artists collaborate with one of the muralists, that might be something where the students are collaborating. That might be something that we have, which is Milpitas, grown.
An interesting idea.
Yeah.
Did the other cities do this where they had to have someone from their city?
I'm not aware of anybody who's restricted it so totally to their city. It's pretty common to say local artists, and then by local you mean the Bay Area or
county,
maybe the South Bay or something. Yeah. But I don't know anybody else who's restricted it to their own, geographical boundary.
I mean, it would be a great learning opportunity for our high school art class to come and work with one of the veteran muralists and help them out and actually paint on the wall. And we could have their names that, okay, students from Milpitas High or students from Cal Hills help doing this. That would be great, I think.
Well, that can happen in the one where the artist directs people to do the murals. Those would be done by Milpitas artists. Will that satisfy it?
It might.
Okay. One other question. This 20, is it a closed loop, as it were? So there's these 20, that's the only group that we have. If we suddenly find 6 months from now another artist who happens to live in Milpitas, that we could add that person to the pool?
I don't think so. I think the only thing you're saying is that these 20, you will continue to consider them for the next 2 years.
Yeah.
But I don't think we've said we will not add anyone else to the list.
Well, then we can use these guys in these 20 and continue to see if anyone evolves from Milpitas. Correct or not?
We could put a call. We could put out a call for specifically a muralist artist that lives or works in Milpitas. Stress that. I mean, just saying, well, except a muralist, if they surface, won't make any sense. I mean, I think we have to make an effort.
We do.
Has it been put out to the newspapers and stuff, or?
It has been put out to places where art calls are typically published. So you don't typically publish them in the newspaper, but that means that we may have missed somebody who's a new artist who doesn't know where to look
I'm just saying, if we
Referrals?
had an article in the newspaper, like a local newspaper, like is Milpitas Post still out, or the
Yeah, it's still out.
if they did an article, then there might be people that know of someone who's a muralist, but it's not going to be someone as well known or well acclaimed as the ones we just saw. Otherwise, people, we know it.
And this goes back to also what we talked at the last session about creating a plan. So this has to be like a continuous effort, not only a standalone effort. It is part of recruiting. It is part of planning throughout the year. And I think that will make it much more sustainable. But right now we're here and we just need to put it out and recruit. But I think it's a great pool.
I agree. Good job.
Thank you.
So have we given you a good answer, Tegan, or should...
I think that what I'm hearing is that there was nobody that the majority of the commission wanted to toss off of this list.
Well, let's ask again. Is that, I started off by saying there were two that I felt were fledgling artists and perhaps should not be included. I'm willing to withdraw that comment. Is there anybody else that feels that there is a particular artist or artists that should not be included? Well, it looks as if we have our answer, Tegan.
Okay. So let me just double, you know what, could I get a motion to pre-qualify those artists?
Yeah.
I'll move it. I'll move to pre-qualify the artists, the 20 artists that we just saw.
Thank you, Robin. Do I have a second?
I second the motion.
Thank you, Jaida. We'll have a roll call, Tegan.
Sure. Commissioner Brahim?
Aye.
Commissioner Chair Ag?
Aye.
Commissioner Hutnick?
Aye.
Commissioner Umarani?
Aye.
Vice Chair Ghosh?
Aye.
Commissioner Hayes?
Aye.
Thank you.
Very good. Okay. I know it's getting late, but I do think we need to reach a conclusion on 9B and 9D. There were a couple of things that I would like, if it's possible, to be added to the future agenda items, Tegan. So if we could just quickly, that no real discussion. I'd like to address the non-voting student situation. I had suggested, I believe, either to the city clerk, a couple of, maybe it was one of the council members, that we consider actually the way we used to have it for the Art Commission, and have two non-voting students, one that represented the high school and one that represented the Cal Hills. I think that that's very appropriate. And there's some very talented people in Cal Hills, and there are also some talented people in Milpitas High School. So that subject I would like, if we could, to discuss and then propose to council at some time in the future. So that would be one topic. The other is the work plan status, and I would like to start getting our teeth into the proposed guidelines for art direction, selection of art, and so on. I forgot what the title we had for it was, but it's in the work plan at this point, and I think it's scheduled for sometime early in spring. But I think we need to talk about how we're going to put that together.
Public art master plan?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're right, it's on the work plan. I believe the work plan items for all the commissions are getting ready to go to council. So we should know shortly
Okay.
about our work plan.
All right. And I haven't heard anything on the Parks and Rec subcommittee for the art. So what's happening for that?
We're getting ready to make a meeting. I actually just got the notice today that they have room for us on the 28th of this month, John. So
okay.
I have not yet had a chance to contact everybody to let them know that date.
Okay. All right. And I'm assuming at this point, would it make any sense for us to have one more meeting before the end of the year?
Well, you for the Arts Commission?
Yeah.
Yeah, you have a regularly scheduled meeting in November. Okay. This October meeting is a special meeting, but you would ordinarily have one in October or in November.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. Okay. So do you want to take 10 minutes, 15 minutes?
Well, I can tell you that on the Muni Code, I've found the Public Art Fund information. It does not specify temporary art, but it does not specify temporary art. And I believe what I'm probably recollecting is a city attorney conversation. So I can read it to you, and it's on the Muni Code. It's item Roman numeral 11-10-14.04 Public Art Fund. Public art program in-lieu contribution shall be placed into the Public Art Fund. The fund shall be used exclusively to 1, provide sites for works of art, 2, acquire and install works of art, 3, maintain works of art, or 4, fund other administrative costs associated with the public art program. The Art Commission shall recommend utilization of monies in the Public Art Fund to City Council. So,
okay.
The City of Milpitas.
I don't question that. What I question, which I believe is in the same section, it's Title 5, Public Health, Safety and Welfare, Public Art Policy. It defines what public art is. Okay? Right. And
yes.
As I read it to you before, public art shall be permanently cited and
yes.
an integral part of the landscaping and/or architecture of a building, considering the historical, geographical, and social cultural context of the site. So it clearly indicates that it's permanent. And I can't see certainly 9D being permanent. And possibly 9B too.
So those, John, are the permanent pieces that developers install?
No, that's not true. Not according to the city ordinances that I've read.
Okay, let me find it and perhaps I can share it with the group. Okay, so you said it's chapter 5.
It's chapter 5, 2310.
2310, definition of public art. Okay.
It seems like if we have a gallery that moves from place to place, and I just don't see, what is your issue with this, John? I'm looking, well, first of all, I want to protect the Public Art Fund as best I can and use it for the purpose that it was originally defined. I'm also concerned that these two particular pieces of art, as defined by the city, are not permanent. That one is mobile, and one is it's a fence that can be removed, or portions of a fence could be removed and put somewhere else. It's not permanent. It's not fixed. It's not an integral part of the landscaping permanently sited. So I don't know what else I can say. I mean, it's.
So, John, the Public Art Fund is a little bit different than the public art policy. What you're looking at is chapter 20 is the public art policy.
Right.
And the Public Art Fund is allowed to use the money for a little bit broader definition. We have the ability to use it for administrative things related to art, and the interpretation that we have from the city attorney allows us to use it for temporary art. We can perhaps get some more information on that. But if you
can you just give me a second, just so I can read the Public Art Fund, because I was talking about public art and the definition of public art, but I've got the Public Art Fund here.
Mm-hmm.
This is dated. This is the latest version.
I'm going to try to share my screen and see if I can share it so everyone can see it.
Okay.
Okay, I don't know if I did that successfully, but
we can see it.
Can you? Okay, great.
Yes.
So this is explaining how we get the money.
Yeah.
And then it explains what we can use it for. So it's to further the intent and purpose of this article and in the administration of public art policy. Permitted expenditures. Okay, here's what we can. Shall include, but are not limited to, the cost of public art and its installation. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Waterworks, blah, blah, blah. Frames, mats, pedestals, and other objects necessary for the presentation of public art. Maintenance and repair. Administration. Publicity, community education, curatorial. Packing and shipping. Reproductions. Okay, I'm looking for temporary in here to see if it actually has that word.
I don't think you'll find that word. I did a control.
You do a search already? Thank you. Okay, okay. I know that we've discussed it with the city attorney. They wouldn't have, they review all the policies that city council approves. And so they wouldn't have approved the policy if they had felt that it was not the new mural policy. They wouldn't have approved that if they felt that it was in conflict.
Okay. So the only point that I will make is, as you know, Tegan, since I've been on the commission, is my concern about how we use the Public Art Fund, because it's only a limited amount of money, and once it's gone, it's gone. So to me, the money should go, other than those that are stipulated on this in this particular section, money should go towards art that is going to last permanently, or as permanently as it possibly can. Not on temporary art. And that's my concern. Are we wise to be spending money on something that is not permanent? And that's the point I'm making.
Can you talk the city council into spending their own money instead of our money?
Probably not. I don't know. But we're in a very tight budget crunch right now.
Was this the mural writing, or was it the regular art founding part that said every art has to have something to do with the area, the indigenous, that's where we've just wrecked our art. As far as we haven't wrecked our art, I'm sorry, I'm exaggerating, but we've stifled creativity in my mind by always saying this, and it's written into our policy.
I don't know that I've seen that, Robin, so it might be
You just read it.
Well, I don't think did it say that it had to have?
Yeah, it said
things?
the art is gonna, have to do with the area, the surroundings, or you know what I mean? Instead of just pieces. I mean, I've always said this for the last 20 years. Can we just have a piece of art?
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be historical.
I think this, yeah, I don't know. I'm not thinking of something that's referencing history as being required in every single piece of art that we do.
It was one of the things that you just said when you were reading out of the codes of what our commission was commissioned to do. Where they wrote.
Okay, this part right here must be what, okay. Considering the historical, geographical, and social cultural context of the site.
There you go.
Okay.
In other words, no abstract art, just they need to just take that out of there. And if we want that, fine. But so now the city council gets that each time, and they go, well, you need to do this, that, or the other. A historical society comes in and says, well, why don't you do this? Well, it's not the historical society, it's the art commission, and we want art. We don't want history. If they want to do that, they can pay for it.
Okay, Robin, I think you're right. And I think Tegan would not disagree with me when I indicate that, or when I suggest that we put the cart before the horse. We're trying to do some things right now when we don't have literally an art program, a master plan. And if we had that, we'd have driving instructions, our highway code, whatever. And that would be an opportunity, or we're working on that. That's part of our present work plan. So I still, I'm a little concerned that because there is a rush to get these two murals going, that we're actually shortcutting and doing something that really is not in our best interest long term.
How are we maintaining security of something like this? For instance, if it is mobile, it could be stolen. So how are we able to secure something like this, which is mobile, and something which we will have paid from our fund budget? And the artist has painted something which cannot be recreated. How are we securing it?
That's a good question.
Isn't it going to be so big that nobody could take it? I mean, it'd be like stealing a huge truck, right? Aren't they going to be great big things that can move, huge murals?
They might be, yeah. I don't know. I think it's dependent on what the artist's design. So it could be, as Robin says, really big, and so its size makes it hard to steal. It could also be something that's not so big, and it could go inside, when there's not people around to watch it.
They could steal stuff from our parks that we put out there. They could steal the benches. They could steal the totem poles.
Mm-hmm.
It's just at some point, I understand what you're saying. I think they'll probably, it could be attached to each place it is. It probably will somewhat be attached.
Mm-hmm.
I feel that is a concern that should be addressed when you choose the material that you're going to be painting it on. And so it's not really something flimsy or can be broken or whatever, it has to feel secure, at least semi-permanent is what I'm thinking.
A little bit of that goes to the way Public Works works into this, in the city, because they're the installers of all of these things.
Well, they may not be if we're engaging an artist. He or she may require to be involved in the installation.
When the request for proposal went out, did it mention it was for a specific temporary mural?
The request for proposal that we sent was what we sent was a request for qualifications, which is different from a request for proposal. It didn't give specific details. But what I did write was anticipated projects. City Council has called for several projects to be fast-tracked, including a traveling mural celebrating the many industries and occupations that have composed Main Street business from the late 1800s to present day, and temporary artwork to be displayed at the Holiday Magic on Main Street, a 2-week event being planned for December. So that is the extent of what the artists saw when they applied. The selection panel, when they've chosen a short list, the short list would get more information. They would get details on how big, for Holiday Magic, how big the area we're trying to cover is and what we think would be the ideal background. The Main Street Industries finalists would probably get information on the types of spots where we envision this could potentially be located. And it doesn't have to be, outdoors. It's outdoors at the festival, but it could be in the library. It could be in, inside of things. Yeah, in City Hall.
City Hall. In fact, actually, I'd like it in the City Hall. Maybe we should put it on the wall there. We need some art there. Okay, we've got to find a way to move this forward. If I can summarize what my suggestion is, not in the form of a motion, but just to say out loud, it seems to me that we should move forward. Obviously, the holiday event is just around the corner, and we've got to move with this. But I do have concern about where the money is coming from for at least the second of these two murals. My argument being that in both cases, they appear to me to be temporary and not consistent with the ordinances. So if I may finish, if we move forward, we go ahead and get the panel going and so on. If we move forward with that, subject only to a clarification that from our city attorney that the way it's described as a temporary Main Street industry mural project can be argued to be covered by the Public Art Fund. That's what I'm suggesting. If it's not, the city could still go ahead with it, but we'll have to find the money from somewhere else.
Well, I have two things that I can share with you about that. I mean, first of all, yes, I can certainly ask the city attorney to clarify for us whether the money can be used, the Public Art Fund money can be used on temporary projects. I know that I've heard it clarified before, but I'm not finding it in writing right now. So I will ask for it in writing so I can share it with you.
Right.
The second thing that I just wanted to remind us is that the Arts Commission's role is to advise City Council, and we can advise City Council on how to spend the Public Art Fund, but ultimately City Council's deciding how they spend it. So if it's something that's an allowable expense and they choose to spend it on that, then
I would imagine that the community has a say in that, though, Tina.
I think I'm going to have to defer and get some additional information for you, because normally speaking, City Council is the body that decides how money is spent. That's throughout the city, how that works.
The City Council directs us to get input from the community, which is why we have to go out and set up booths in the parks and ask them about stuff. But ultimately, the city council is who votes on it. They like to get the information from our opinion and the community's opinion. It's been like that forever.
Yeah.
And
But it's up to them. It's not up to the community. They often go with the community over us. Like when we voted for this art in the park, they did it. I think once they went with the with what the 25 people that showed up in the neighborhood wanted, as opposed to the art commission.
Robin, I don't disagree with what you're saying. The point I'm making, I think, is that the council approved the ordinances. I mean, this was, and all I'm doing is reading from the ordinances. And so to me, if the council said, well, no, we're going to go ahead and use the public art funds anyway, to me, that is in contravention to the guidelines of the legal requirements that have been already established. But I don't want to get into that. I really don't want to get into that. I think it's, from my standpoint, it's easier to ask the city attorney whether or not that is my interpretation or everybody else's interpretation is correct relating to the temporary nature of these two activities. And so my suggestion is we go ahead as recommended with some indication, I don't know how we get that, within the same period of time, that these are legitimate and can be charged to public art funds. And if they can't, that the money, we go ahead, but the money has to come from somewhere else in the city.
I can certainly ask the city attorney.
John, we could also give like guidelines for this, since city council is quite decided on it. We can at least say that it could be semi-permanent, or it should not be, something that can be destroyed by the wind, or, something like that. So there are certain things that they're watching out for, because if it's going to be spent, the money, it should be worthwhile. So it should at least last for a few years. A mural would last for a long time. We need to ask those questions about this temporary mural. How long will it last? And, to that effect, guidelines for that. I'm sure we could suggest that.
And those guidelines can be the baseline for moving forward, and if in the future there is another project like this.
A precedent, yeah. Okay. Should I frame a motion, Tegan?
I'm not sure what you've asked me to get information from the city attorney. I don't think you need to make a motion about that. I can gather information.
The motion I would make is that we actually move ahead with the recommendation, subject only to clarification from the city attorney that these can legitimately charge to the public art fund.
But what recommendation are you making subject to that? Because you've already
selected a commissioner to serve on the Main Street Industry Mural Selection Committee.
I thought you already did that, though. You've already done those two items. We selected Commissioner Hayes for the Main Street mural.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
And Commissioner Ghost for the other one.
So either I'm in a corner here or something, but clearly from my standpoint, there should be, and I don't know how you do that in this meeting. I am concerned that we should not be using this particular process of mural selection for these two events, if they are not permanent, and if they do not fit within the guidelines of the Public Art Fund. So I don't know how to clarify that, but I feel that the council needs to decide.
What I'm hearing is that you need information from the city attorney, so I can definitely ask the city attorney to clarify
Okay.
for us.
Okay. And if he says that it's fine, as far as I'm concerned, we just move ahead. There's no issue. If it's not, and if these are considered temporary and not within that, what do we do?
I guess we ask for advice from the city attorney.
Well, John, you might have a point, and I agree with you that we want to keep all the money we can. So maybe you can present to the city council your thoughts and say perhaps they can find the money in their fund to pay for these projects so that we can maintain our art fund to do more permanent projects, because our art fund is limited. You never know. You could only, they could only say no. They might say yes.
Yes, I can do that. I guess
you
so.
might get further than asking the attorney, who'll probably just say, sure, they can use it. But the city council might go, oh yeah, good idea. We'll cough up the money from another place. What do you think?
I was thinking about that. It certainly wouldn't work in public forum because we only have a minute to make our point. And getting on the agenda with the council is a bit of a challenge.
Is it? Can't you be aren't we the art commission and you're the chair, so we could be agendized? Just takes 3 weeks, right?
I don't know. I honestly don't know. I should probably know that answer. But
Tegan, isn't that how it works? You have to.
I don't quite know how it would work from a commission requesting to be agendized, but again, I can find out.
Okay.
Okay.
I think you can talk briefly at public forum and then they can agendize it from there too. I believe that's an option.
That one I know works.
Yeah, that's probably your best bet. Go talk to them concisely.
I think we have a council meeting tomorrow.
There you go. Go speak your mind. Say, please agendize this.
Yeah, I think we have a council meeting tomorrow. Okay, maybe we've beaten this one to death. Cecilia, you've been fairly quiet, but it's new to you, but really welcome. And nobody's going to jump on you other than me occasionally when I say the wrong things, but really welcome. Sandeep, you were very quiet this evening for some reason.
Yes, I have been quiet. I'm listening. Yeah, so I will jump in if I have anything specific.
Listening is an art. Okay, well, look, I think it's what? It's 9:25. Are there any liaison reports or anything, Tegan, you wanted to add?
I don't have anything additional, no.
Okay, and I'm not sure whether Mayor Tran is still with us. Mayor Tran, do you have anything to report?
I'm guessing he would have spoken up if he was here.
Well, he's signed on. Okay. Well, everybody, I wish you well. It's 9:25. The commission is adjourned, and I wish you all well. Wash your hands, wear your masks, and stay safe.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.